class. It is Miss Hannah, and I'm here with my daughter, Clara, who's going to be helping us today. So we talked a little about how the masks that they made, the death mask they made for King Tut-like was really elaborate. And so we also talked a little bit about paper mache, and Miss Hannah mentioned making lots of paper mache masks before. And so for this time around, I thought I would show you a real simple way to do a paper mache mask that you could then paint or color to make look like a King Tut mask. So just one second. So what Claire's doing right now is cutting up paper, and she's going to be cutting up that paper so that we can use it for paper mache. And I had to grab some tape, sorry. Okay. And what we've already made is just a basic mask outline. So I did a little beard, an Egyptian beard on mine. That's what that is. And the eyes up here. So I just did this with a piece of cardboard that I had in my recycle. What I'm going to do now, because this is my mask I'm making. This is going to be my beard. I'm going to be a boy, I guess. What I did after that is I folded it into the shape, sort of a shape of a face so that it's concave. Okay. So that it doesn't sit directly on top. It doesn't do flat because we don't want it to grow flat. So I'm kind of making a crease down the middle, and it can be a pretty prominent crease because it needs to stay kind of creased while you make it. Okay, so that's just a piece of cardboard. I cut out eye sockets. Sissy did this one. And so for hers, again, we're gonna do a little crease down the middle so that it's kind of mask-like, it fits the face better.
I'm doing a shark.
Yeah, she wants to do a shark, which is cool. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to create a feature on mine. I want to create a nose on mine. And so I got another piece of cardboard, and I am just going to take a little piece of cardboard up into a triangle onto my other piece of cardboard and like just give the impression of a nose. So I'll show it to you when I'm done here. Okay. Okay. So it doesn't have to look, let's do this side. So you can kind of see that it looks like a nose from the side. So it doesn't have to look super good right now. I'm also going to crumple up a little bit of paper and tape it on where the cheekbones would be. And the reason I'm doing this now is to create an impression of a three-dimensional face, because people's faces aren't flat, right? So, and those masks are detailed. They carved it, but I'm not a good carver. So, and I don't think I'm gonna try that. So I could make cheekbones by taking some of these little pieces of paper Claire's cutting and making little bumps where I want those things to be. Okay, so right here. All right, just like that. And then maybe like a little bump for where the mouth is gonna be. Again, this is just, you don't have to do all this if you don't want to. I'm just making it more three-dimensional with mine. Okay. So that when I put the paper mache on it, it stands up. So if you look to the side, it's more three-dimensional, right? So once I put the paper mache on those little features, they're going to stand out more than the other paper mache, which will be flat. All right, so to make our paper mache, I'm using glue this time. If you don't have glue, but you do have flour, you can use flour. Okay, that's fine. I actually didn't we use flour with our last mask, sis?
Yeah, we did.
I am not
on Halloween
measuring this, but that's okay. You don't have to measure. I just put, it looks like a half a cup, could be about a fourth of a cup. And then I have warm water. Warm water works better because it mixes better. And I'm just kind of eyeing it. We don't want it to have so much water that it's not gluey, or too much glue is bad too. It should be kind of, this is going to sound gross, but it should be kind of like the consistency of when you cough and you have mucus in your throat. That's what the consistency should be. So like this. I know that looks gross. But the idea is not too thin, not too thick. You don't want it to be just glue. And so then you take one of these pieces of paper and you dip it in there, and it's pretty wet. So you wring it out like that. Okay. And my pieces of paper is too long, so I'm going to cut it up in half like this.
I just cut them all in half, so you might have to do that more.
And then, yeah. And then I'm going to just kind of push it onto my cardboard like this over where I'm putting the mouth and the other features. We can always trim the edges, so you can just leave it hanging, but I'm going to tuck my edges in. I'm going to move this ball over here just in case Clara wants to do some paper mache on hers. And you don't have to do all the preliminary stuff that I did, like the mouth and stuff, because you can add that on later if you want, just through painting or whatever. Okay, so see, starting to get covered. And probably a good measure is for these little masks, like someone would ask, how many layers do I put on? 2 would be good, 3 would be better, but 2 is probably fine. You could get away with 1 really, but see, I have some on my hand, so I'm just putting it on my hand. That works too. You could probably get away with 1, but it would just be thicker and sturdier if you did more than that. Okay. And so all we're doing is we're covering our little area with the wet paper, the glue paper. And again, you can do this with flour because flour will dry kind of, it's sticky like glue when you get it wet like that. And it'll dry kind of like glue as well. It'll dry really hard.
Better take off my ring.
Yep. Okay. And so if you do these little ridges, just be aware that you're probably going to have to do more paper mache to go over top of the ridges that I just made. But what I'm trying to show you, and let me get some more covering on here, is that once I cover those little ridges I made, they begin to look like facial features and not like pasted on cardboard, which is really cool. And you just get a feel for how to do it after a while. Sometimes you start off a little wet. You can actually cover some wet paper. If you get a little too wet, you can cover some wet paper with dry paper. And we're just using old newspaper. If you don't have newspaper, you can use computer paper. That works as well. Paper towels that are thick work really well. Thin paper towels do not work very well. It's just a matter of them falling apart. So it wouldn't work very well. See how it's starting to take shape? It looks more like a nose down here, like a long nose and a little mouth. And when I paint it, it'll look even more like that. I don't know if you guys ever went to Haunted Heronswood, but Miss Hannah did a lot of paper mache for Haunted Heronswood to make the figures for Haunted Heronswood, to make their faces of the children that were on display and some of the characters as well. And so paper mache can be something used not just for fun, but that was, in that case, I was being paid to make it. So that was fun.
We have done them on Halloween before.
Yeah, and actually, guys, this would have been something that if people wanted masks in the 1920s and 30s and things like that, they had to make their own. Companies started making those masks in plastic, probably, I don't remember the exact date, but I think around the 40s is when companies started making masks that were plastic. I could be wrong on that. We'd have to check our math. But plastic masks for Halloween didn't always exist. And so some of the fun of Halloween for those people would have been making their own masks. So if you find that you're not very inspired on Halloween, maybe try making your own mask this year and see if that helps any.
Yeah,
that was fun, wasn't it?
For us, yeah. I think we did it even in a lesson, right?
We did it in a little lesson.
Because we were learning about how they didn't always have plastic masks.
Yep, we were learning about the history of Halloween, weren't we?
Yep.
So, this goes to show that people can be pretty creative. See how that's kind of taking shape? If you look to the side, it really looks like a mask. So you might not be able to picture what Miss Hannah's doing right now when you look from the front. But if you look to the side, you can see that it's looking like a face that's kind of sticking out more prominently. And so what we will do with this, once we get it all covered, is we let it dry. And it does require a lot of dry time, guys. So pretty much a few hours. So give yourself time to do this. If you want to do it, just have fun. Realize that it does take time to dry. There's not much we can do about that. You just have to wait. But that's part of it, is it does take more time to do something like this than just drawing. But the end result is, you know, just really cool. Some things, most things that take a lot of time and effort are worth the effort and time at the end, because you get something really cool for your effort. And if you're just not doing anything else and you're bored and you're sick of your video games and you're sick of other stuff that you're doing, this is just kind of fun, a little bit messy. So you'll want to ask your parents' permission. It's just kind of a fun activity, isn't it? Yeah. And so sister, Clara here is helping because she just likes to do it. We've done it before. Her mask broke last year, so she's just trying again. So here is the fully covered mask. You can cover on both sides. You don't need to cover the inside. It's just up to you. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of dimension. Sorry, sis. I'm going to add a little dimension to, go ahead, my nose, because it is. And I'm making this one really wet because I want my nose to really stick up a little. I'm adding a little dimension to my nose so it sticks out even more than the cheekbones. Because right now the cheekbones are more prominent than the nose, and I don't want that. Okay. And so I'm just eyeing it and doing what feels right. A lot of paper mache and a lot of art is just being creative and seeing what works, and if it doesn't work, changing it up a bit.
This is the inside of my mask pretty much covered anyway.
Yeah, because she's doing the long strips and overlapping. And that overlapping is actually a pretty good idea. The reason overlapping is a good idea is because it'll make your mask stronger. So my mask is getting fairly wet. So I'm going to stop there. And then the way I'm going to dry it, I'm not going to dry it flat on the table. And I'm going to do another layer probably. But I'm not going to dry it flat on the table. I'm going to take a bottle and I'm going to lay it on top of the side of a bottle like this. Here's my glue bottle. Let me tighten it. And I'm going to lay it like this on my bottle for two reasons. I don't want it to flatten out in the process. And another reason is then it won't dry on top of my table and stick to my table, which is a very real possibility.
Why
don't you show them yours, sis?
I put one strip on the back so that part would be strong.
That's a good idea.
I'm not gonna put too many strips on the back. I'm just putting a few. Don't want to cover. I'm not gonna cover it all because that would take a while.
Yeah. Miss Hannah is getting too much stuff on my computer. Goes to show that. There we go. I was getting some glue on my computer. I had to wipe it off. So I'm going to let mine dry, but you can see how this is going. It's looking a lot more like a face and a lot less like a piece of cardboard, which is the main idea. And when sister puts hers to dry, she can dry it on something like this. If she wants it to be flat, then she can leave it flat on a piece of paper, like a piece of newspaper. And of course, if you don't want to do dimensions like I did, you can add dimension by painting. So if you just want to add dimension, not by using features like that, but adding dimension by painting, that's a good idea too, because
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to do this style of dimension, and it's really not necessary if you're a better painter, because then you can just paint that stuff on. And I am taking Claire's advice and doing a little overlapping on my sides here for two reasons. One, because I have a very, very wet mask and I'm trying to dry off the sides. And two, because I don't want a whole bunch of stuff sticking off the edges.
Do you think mine's wet or is mine wet?
It's pretty wet, but it'll dry just fine.
I think I want mine bent too.
Yeah, you want yours bent as well?
Yeah, I only covered a little bit of the back of it.
That's good though. Let's show it to him.
But
There we go.
I wanted to make it just a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and you can see hers is dripping a little, and it's okay. This glue will wash off the table. It's not a big deal. So why don't you wash your hands and then grab like a can out of the recycling,
Okay.
and we will put yours bent on a can. That way it'll dry that way, and then it'll form around your face a little. So Miss Hannah hopes that you give it a try. It's pretty fun if you can. Like I said, I know it's messy and maybe some of your parents are gonna be like, please don't do that. It's way too messy. But if your parents don't mind a messy table, and I obviously don't, give it a try. It's really fun. And then maybe next time I'll paint it for you guys and you can see how to add dimensions with paint. So I did add some dimension just with paper and tape, but we can add dimension with paint as well. And again, if you're going to leave these to dry, don't leave them just on the table. Maybe put a piece of paper under them. Otherwise they'll stick to your table. They will stick to the paper too, but you can cut the paper off. That's not a problem. Okay. I hope you have fun trying this out, and I will see you later.